It was the first time in 132 playoff games that Steph Curry did not make a three-pointer. The first time since John Starks in 1994 that a player took 9 or more threes and didn't make one in an NBA Finals game. Yet the Warriors came out with a win thanks to this cast. Andrew Wiggins with a team-high 26, Klay Thompson 21, Jordan Poole, Gary Payton II each had double digits off the bench. Now the Golden State Warriors are one win away from their 4th championship during the Splash Brothers era. Welcome to NBA Finals Film Room presented by YouTube TV. Former NBA Coach of the Year, Sam Mitchell, longtime NBA coach, Stan Van Gundy. I'm your host, Chris Miles, and let's start with the effort on defense by the Golden State Warriors. Speaking of which, the turnovers by the Boston Celtics. Sam, they had 18 total turnovers. That really told the story of the game.
Yeah, Chris and Coach, that's something Ime Udoka's been on this team about, especially in the playoffs, limiting their turnovers. He gives them a ceiling, Coach, of 12, but when you get to 18, and Coach, you know that it's not just the turnover, it's when you turn the ball over and the type of turnovers. Those live ball turnovers are killing the Boston Celtics because if both of these teams are struggling to score in the half court, and when you give them a live ball turnover like that and give them an easy layup or a three-point attempt, it's just breaking Boston back. And they got to, at some point, wrap their arms around this, or they're going to be out of the playoffs soon.
Well, they're putting a lot on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to have to make plays. I mean, this Celtic team is built so well roster-wise, except they just don't have a lot of guys who can make plays off the dribble. They don't have, and this is no knock on Marcus Smart, but they don't have that true point guard. And so these problems are going to crop up, and you're right, it really detracts from their defense, which is so good in the half court. And as you said, the timing, because Boston's shutting them down, and then you give Golden State some confidence when they can get out in transition, and everything gets better.
And it makes sense that the Celtics are 13-2 in a postseason when they have 12 turnovers or less. But again, they're just up in that count with the turnovers in the last 2 games. In fact, the Celtics haven't an issue scoring in general. It's the first time this postseason they've had back-to-back games in which they didn't score 100 points. What are you seeing from Golden State in this time that they're holding the Celtics to under 100?
Well, especially last night, you can see a much more aggressive Golden State defense. They switched more. That was an adjustment that Steve Kerr made. You see Looney switching out here, and then you see the aggressiveness. Another switch there by Thompson, and look how much he gets into Tatum. No airspace, aggressive, reaching at the ball, help coming early. Just nothing easy at all for the Boston Celtics. You see Wiggins' effort, which has been incredible the entire series, but all their switches were up and into people, and then a great contest by Green. I mean, this was just a very aggressive Golden State team last night. It was no accident that Boston had trouble scoring the ball against this team. See Curry out on the show, and then it looks like White's got a clear lane to the hoop. Great rotation and verticality by Draymond Green, who did this kind of thing all night long. You see it again here, fighting through the screen. Now the ball comes back. Watch Draymond Green down here and how quickly he's going to see the help coming. He's there long before Brown even takes off again, making it tough to finish. Golden State was great defensively last night.
Now we're going to switch to the offensive side of the ball. And we always hear about Game 6 Klay. But you know, Game 5 Klay Thompson actually averages more points than Game 6, Sam. That's a factoid most people don't really pay attention to. It was the first time in this series that Klay Thompson shot over 50% from the field. What did you think about the better looks he got in Game 5?
Well, I just think for Golden State, what separates these two teams is the maturity of Golden State and the lack of maturity from Boston offensively. When you watch Boston play, it's 1-2 passes, get it to Brown or Tatum, they try to go one-on-one. You watch Klay Thompson now, right there, I like that play by Thompson because Marcus Smart trying to get a cheap one. Now in the finals, you're not getting that. But Klay Thompson is constantly moving without the ball. He's seeking out those screens from his teammates. He's reading those screens. And when he comes off, that thing is locked, loaded, and ready to be launched because he's in rhythm. He's moving without the ball. And then occasionally, Coach, when they do chase him off that three-point line, he will put his head down and go to to the basket. And I still don't believe this year we're going to see the best of Klay Thompson until next year, Coach. For him to play the way he's playing after missing 2 years is incredible to me.
Right, and I think that's the history of guys, especially with Achilles injuries. You know, it takes them getting back and then another year before they're at their best. Sam knows, and it will come. I think we're already seeing him be a little bit better. Last night I thought was the best defensive game he'd probably played in the playoffs. It's only going to get better.
Sam, don't worry. Your best days are definitively behind you, my friend.
I know they are.
Well, that's not the same for Jordan Poole. What we're seeing, it seems as if as the series progresses, he's becoming more confident, making bigger shots. When they were down at the end of the third quarter, he hit that buzzer beater. It felt like the momentum shifted back for the Golden State Warriors. What are you seeing from Jordan Poole as far as his confidence and how much he's playing better as this series progresses?
Well, his confidence is sky high, and the thing I like about him is his confidence is sky high even when he's missing shots. This guy knows he can play, and it's not just that he's scoring some points. I think the timing of what he's done, when they need one, he'll get it. Sam brought that up early. The timing of these things is really important.
And Chris, I just think his defense, his help defense is allowing Steve Kerr to trust him more and to leave him out there a few more minutes to give him those opportunities. Remember, Coach, early in the playoffs or early in this series, he wasn't getting a lot of minutes because he was a defensive liability. And now what he understands, if I just play good, solid help defense, my offense will get me some minutes.
Good, solid defense. Sounds like you're talking about GP the second. But it's not just defense with him. He actually scored more points than Jordan Poole in Game 5, 15 points, hit the boards, had 5 rebounds, 3 steals. Sam, and it felt bigger than the box score with him.
Yeah, Gary Payton has been unbelievable. He's only about 6'3", 6'4", Coach, but he plays like he's 6'10". He's athletic, he's strong, he's running the floor, and he's always making himself available. And that shot right there, Coach, when he gets his feet set, he wasn't afraid to take that three. And that's why, people keep saying, well, why is this guy shoot? Coach, you know this. If you turn down a good shot in the finals, then the next shot you're going to get is going to be a bad shot. You got to put players on the floor that you trust, and if you put them out there in those situations, they can't be afraid to take those opportunities, and Gary Payton played big. Those 15 points may have been the points that broke their back.
Absolutely, and look, he's a great fit for Golden State because he's another guy, as Sam said, is always making himself available. He's always moving without the ball.
Yeah, certainly GP too. Like you said, one of those X factors in this series, but a guy that you coached in his rookie season. #1 overall pick, All-Star Andrew Wiggins. Say it with your chest. We're going to break down some film with him next on NBA Finals Film Room, presented by YouTube TV.
You're watching Finals Film Room, brought to you by YouTube TV. Everything live TV should be. Try it free.
I'm so impressed with his start tonight, too. He's been, to me, rock solid in this finals.
Absolutely.
Shot blocked. Wiggins with the rejection on the help defense. But his defensive improvement has been special.
And Steve Kerr talked about it. The key to this whole turnaround and getting back to the finals was acquiring Andrew Wiggins, and he has proven to be that guy.
And Andrew Wiggins continues his outstanding play with a 16-7 first 2 quarters.
He's found such a crucial role on our team, and I think that empowers him. He knows how much we need him, and so he's been fantastic.
So I came in here and just, hoop. I'm playing basketball and I'm playing hard, and I feel like people respect that, and I'm just trying to win. At the end of the day, no matter what it takes, whatever they need from me, I'm here to help them win.
Wiggins with 9 boards, takes it all the way in. Puts it in out the window, and the Warrior lead at 3. Andrew Wiggins with 18 tonight. Wiggins across the lane, floats it up and in. Andrew Wiggins, what a 4th quarter. Wiggins drives on Williams, flips it up and in. 24 for Andrew Wiggins, 14-point Warrior lead.
I'm just so impressed with Wiggins in every facet of the game tonight.
Bottom line is he's just having fun playing basketball. That's the biggest thing. I'm sure he's enjoying this more than anything else he's experienced in this league, and that's kind of what it's all about.
Wiggins drives and finishes. exclamation point from Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors take Game 5, 104-94.
11 rebounds. That was Andrew Wiggins' career high coming into these finals. He's outdone that back-to-back games now. Both wins for the Warriors. It's history repeating itself against the Celtics. Andrew's dad, Mitchell Wiggins, also had a key role in the finals in 1986 in Game 5 against the Boston Celtics. Sam, you played with Mitchell Wiggins. You coached
Well, thank you for
Andrew
giving my
Wiggins.
age away, Chris.
I know you are. So everybody watching this shows know that you're old school, man. I know you have to be proud to break down Andrew's game in Game 5.
Yeah, just like his dad, man. His dad, Mitchell Wiggins, was a tremendous defender. Coach knows that. But his son, Andrew Wiggins, is taking it to another level. Watch Andrew right here on the offensive end. Look how patient he is. Now watch him. He realizes he's got a smaller guy on him right here. Now watch him. When he goes into this triple threat, watch this decisive move to the basket. And this turnaround jump shot, you're too little. He just rises up and knocks it down. Here he is again, coming off this double, this DHO right here. Al Horford is too slow. Look at the defense. Marcus Smart is hugging Steph Curry. Nope, you better come over and give me a little help. If not, I'm driving to the basket, drop you off, Al, for an and one. Here's Andrew Wiggins again. Look at that tough rebound in a crowd right here. As he runs down the court, just watch Andrew Wiggins. He understands that all eyes are going to be on Steph Curry. Stop it. Doc Rivers used to run this for Corey Maggette. This play got me retired, Coach. That banana cut right here. Watch Andrew Wiggins as he catches it there. Jaylen Brown, no problem. Again, Marcus Smart was there to help. Andrew Wiggins misses it. He stays with it. Draymond Green gets the rebound, drops it off to Andrew Wiggins. Finishes again. I like that move, Coach. Get more rebounds. Here he is on defense. This is what I love, though. This is what's going to win this series. Look at the defense against Tatum. Look at that contest at the top. Forces him to shoot an air ball. Now, look at Andrew Wiggins back here now. He forces Tatum to a bad shot to shoot an air ball. Watch him here on offense right now. He sees Al Horford is going to be guarding him. Steph Curry draws all the attention. Here's Wig. Nope, Al, you are just too slow. Man, that running little floater hook shot right there for Andrew Wiggins. Coach, the thing that I'm impressed about Wig, his offense has been second to none, but his defense, when you are locking down Tatum and Brown and then giving it to him on the offensive end and then getting double digits rebounds the way he's doing, he has unleashed all his facets of his game, and he is starting to quiet all the naysayers.
Yeah, 26 points, 12 for 17 inside of the arc for Andrew Wiggins, 0 for 6 from three-point range, but very efficient driving to the basket, as Sam just broke down. Also, we saw Draymond Green in a couple of those clips. Look, I know it's the third game of the series that he fouled out, and it was another triple single, 8, 8, and 6, but he did have an impact on Game 5.
He did, and again, going back to the point Sam's made several times here, the timing of when it happened. So Draymond Green doesn't do a lot offensively, but he can really pass the ball, as we know, there to Curry. He hits Curry again on the back cut as they try to deny. He's on the glass. His defense is outstanding. Pushing the ball on the break, which he does as well as anybody. And this was one of his 2 drives for scores in the first quarter when they got off to the great start. That was their first possession of the game. He hit this little floater. He helped really get him off to that start offensively. Then he sort of took a back seat, played his defense, moved the ball. But the timing of things is important.
Yeah, and for Draymond Green, he seemed more aggressive looking to score in this game as opposed to earlier in the series.
Well, he's got to look at the basket. Even if he turns down those shots, Coach, if he just drives it to the basket, at some point, somebody's going to pick up an NBA player. They're not going to let him have a layup. So Draymond's got to continue to look for those opportunities, find those openings and gaps, and understand Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are going to be face guarded the whole night.
Yeah, the Boston Celtics have lost each of the past 2 games by 10 points, but there are some positives that we saw in Game 5. We're going to break that down next on NBA Finals Film Room, presented by YouTube TV.
You're watching Finals Film Room, brought to you by YouTube TV. Everything live TV should be. Try it free.
Well, the Celtics made 8 straight threes, erased a double-digit halftime deficit in the third quarter, and even though they lost the game, it might be something to hold on to going forward. Now, Steph had 43 points. We saw that Game 4 was held to 16 in Game 5. Stan, what did you see was the difference defensively by the Celtics? Because that was the best part of the game for them, what they did on Steph Curry.
Well, yeah, they really got into him. But what we noticed, right, was the adjustment. They were up on all of his pick and rolls. We'd seen him playing in that drop coverage for a good part of it. They're also very physical with him. How they called that on Curry, I don't know when they slow it down. But this is how they used to hit people coming off screen, Sam, and they did it with him. But watch here, Marcus Smart gets through. Watch the shot they make him take. Guys don't have bad nights just by accident. That is a difficult shot. And watch Robert Williams here, who can play a little bit in a drop because he's so big. Not only does he take that shot away, but watch Jaylen Brown. He's just going to deny Steph Curry all the way to half court. They're going to take him out of the play. And I love it when you put size on Steph Curry. This was one of the best defensive plays of the night by Grant Williams coming from behind to block that shot. Steph Curry didn't get anything easy last night.
Yeah, that's the positive for the Boston Celtics. On the flip side of that, the biggest negative, turnovers. Jason Tatum, 98 so far this postseason. Sam, that's the most ever by any player in any postseason in NBA history, and we see it in these finals. In 5 games, he has 18 of them. Why are the Celtics turning the ball over, and it's all 3 of their ball handlers so much?
Well, it's partly because the Golden State defense, they're in the drop position, they're helping him recover. But it's also because of Boston. They are aiding in their own demise. Look at some of the shots that they take. Look at some of the plays they try to make. They play Tatum, Brown, and Marcus Smart. They play in a crowd too much, Coach. They're always trying to make that extra play. And, Coach, you've coached great players. I've coached great players. And the biggest thing to get through their thick skull is, I know you can beat that guy, but you know it's 4 of the guys behind him. And what Golden State is doing, they understand Tatum and Brown and Smart, they're going to beat that first guy, but now you got to beat our team defense. And that's when they're getting in trouble. That one extra dribble, too much, Coach, and they leave their feet to make that pass. Golden State is stunting and staying at home, and they're just throwing the ball away to the Golden State Warriors. And if they keep doing that, they're only going to have one more game to do that.
Now, Sam, right back to you on Tatum, because that's the negative part of what's happened to him in this postseason. But he really has elevated to another level, been consistently scoring for them. What have you seen in Game 5 and Game 4 from Jason Tatum on that end of it?
Man, he just has the calmness when he has the ball. He reminds me of Kevin Durant, that where anytime, Coach, he gets the ball, and if he has to put it on the floor for 1 or 2 dribbles, it goes from a tough shot to a good shot. He is one of the few guys that I put in that category, LeBron, KD, now Tatum, to where they can turn any offensive possession for them from a mediocre possession to a good possession because their height, athleticism, their skill set. Coach, they can just create opportunities that no one else can.
Size and skill, Sam. Size and skill, when you have that combination together, how often has that failed? You mentioned Kevin Durant and LeBron James, and we can go Dirk Nowitzki.
Yes.
And size and skill together, very difficult to stop.
Yeah, well, we've seen it in the past when the guy who's defended LeBron James in the finals won the finals MVP over Steph Curry. We'll have an interesting discussion to see if the Warriors do win this. Is there someone else that could win finals MVP? That's coming up next on NBA Finals Film Room, presented by YouTube TV. Now remember, before every NBA Finals game, watch your new favorite show, Sam, NBA Bet, presented by FanDuel.
Yeah, learn how to lose your money, baby. NBA broke.
They got a great host. Our experts give advice to all your plays before the game starts Thursday at 6:30 on NBA TV. We're live from the NBA Finals. Remember to catch all the coverage before and after every game right here on NBA TV. Live at the Finals from Boston Thursday at 7 and following the game right after for all your press conference coverage. Sam, speaking of which, NBA Finals MVP, Stan, is it somebody else not named Steph Curry?
Well,
can we see someone else not named Steph Curry win the NBA Finals MVP?
Well, right now, Steph Curry's probably the leader in the clubhouse. But we go another game or two like last night, Andrew Wiggins could be your MVP.
Ooh, what do you think about that?
Well, I agree with Coach. I just think right now that 43-point game, especially after the way Steph got up, everybody was concerned about that ankle injury, and to come out and score 43 like he did in Game 4 was just unbelievable. But, Coach, I think you're right. If Steph Curry, if Golden State lose Game 6 in Boston, and Andrew Wiggins plays great, and Steph just has a subpar game, and they go to Game 7 and Andrew Wiggins plays lights out, he could creep in down the back door and kind of wrestle it away from Steph, but he's going to have to do a lot of wrestling because that guy right there, look at them numbers. Man, Coach, I really think he's got a stranglehold on it because he did have that Willis Reed moment in Game 4, dropping 43.
With the season on the line, you're down 2-1, so I get that. But Andrew Wiggins, both ends of the floor and on the glass and every night, the guy's been so consistent. I don't know.
You did point out that defense on Jason Tatum, which has been absolutely phenomenal. Speaking of which, okay, we've broken down Game 5. Do you think there'll be a Game 7?
I would be shocked if Golden State can beat the Boston Celtics. They had lost more than one in a row. I would be shocked if they could beat them 3 in a row. I think in Boston, in that environment, I think the Celtics, they've had too good of playoffs to go out like that, Coach, Game 6 at home.
I agree, and the interesting thing with Boston is, to me, it's not so much can Golden State come in and beat them, it's can Boston keep from beating themselves.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what I've thought of this whole series. If Boston doesn't beat themselves, I still think they're the better team.
Coach, I think they have the most talent, but Golden State playing better team basketball.
Listening to you two guys, it seems like turnovers is the biggest thing to watch for in Game 6. Is that correct, or is there something else for the Boston Celtics, who had 18 in Game 5?
Well, I think it's the biggest thing, but also both teams made good defensive adjustments last game. Let's see if somebody can figure it out offensively in the half court against these teams.
Shot selection for the Boston Celtics, they got to take better shots. They got to be willing to exhaust the shot clock, move, play with space and pace. Take good shots.
You guys did a great job, but I think we got to give props to our people who did all the hard work on this show. Kat, right, breaking down all the video. Colleen producing, Nia upstairs. Thanks to all of you for watching Finals at the Film Room.